This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. And welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard. Welcome back to the show. We've got an amazing show lined up for you today with an amazing guest. She is a phenomenal person that's doing things kind of off the beaten path to really help people, certainly in the health space, and how to take care of yourself, how to think about things in life, and how to just live a happier, easier, productive lifestyle, which we all can get value from in this fast-paced, crazy world that we live in. So today we're talking about how to rewire how you think. Let me say that again. We're going to be talking about how to rewire your brain to think a little bit differently so you can remove things that block your mind and maybe cloud your mindset and your judgment so you can achieve more than you thought was even possible. So if that excites you, we've got a great show for you today. So it's my privilege to be able to invite on the show Dr. Anna Marie Frank. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dr. Frank here. She's an amazing person. She is a doctor, and I hope I don't screw this up, naturopathy. She's also the founder of Happy Whole You, which is a medical firm focused on helping people live happier and healthier lives through various treatments and programs that she offers. She's also an author of an awesome book called Stop Bullying Yourself, which is phenomenal concept. She has overcome a lot of things in her personal life. She is an inspirational person that is a great example of facing things in life, not making excuses, not getting down on yourself, and finding a way out of it and moving on to bigger, better things in life and doing great things. And so that's who we have on the show today. Dr. Frank, welcome to the Soar Higher podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we love having you. You're doing such amazing things out there to help people in so many ways, and at a time that's, I think, one of the most important times in our society, with all of the things going on and everybody trying to be somebody, and everybody's busy and everybody's stressed, and so tell us a little bit about you and what you do and how you do it and how you got to where you are right now.
Oh, yes. Well, my journey with mental health started when I was in high school. I struggled with depression. Now, back then, I didn't know what it was. I was a four-sport varsity athlete. I got good grades. I had a roof over my head. My classmates would have probably said I was popular and happy and everything was fine. But inside, it was around my junior year, I didn't feel okay inside. And very high achiever. I ended up going on to university. I was a D1 athlete. And I thought, oh, well, once I go to college, I can reinvent myself and then I'll be happier. Well, that didn't work out. Same thing, struggled with my mental health through college. But then I went to graduate and I thought, okay, well, now because I'm getting a grown-up job and I'm going to have money, you broke college athlete. That's not always fun. I thought, now I grew up in Michigan. I went to Western Michigan University. I had opportunities to go to New York, Florida, or California for work, and I ended up picking California. So I thought, okay, here I am, 22 years old, packed what I could fit in my car, drove across the country to start my new life with a salaried job. And I thought, this is what is going to make me happy. And, got into the job. Things were exciting at first. And then before I knew it, I was very depressed still. And people wouldn't know that because you look at my life and say, well, why are you depressed? Well, if I knew, that would have been helpful, right? So what I ended up doing, like a good girl, is because I had health insurance, so I went to see a psychiatrist. So I figured, there's probably something chemically wrong with my brain. So I'll go see a psychiatrist, and then, I'm sure they'll fix me and give me some medicine. And sure enough, spent about 15 minutes with the psychiatrist. He wrote me 3 prescriptions. I went and filled them up. And I thought that was going to solve all my problems. And it didn't. Ended up being a blessing in disguise, but I continued to struggle. And when I hit rock bottom, I luckily had a little voice inside me that says, you are the only person that can make you happy, and you've got to figure this out. So that's when I set forth on a journey. I thought, if we can rewire computers, can't we like rewire our brain? So that's when I started to really dive into, how the brain works and how can I feel better. And, our brain is the strongest pharmacy on planet Earth. So can I hack those chemicals going on in my brain? And that's when I decided to start making little changes that compounded over time. And I started to heal my brain, my body. And, there were a lot of ups and downs in that time, but ultimately that's what got me to start studying the brain and start going into a natural route, because medications were not an answer for me. And I was put on multiple different medications, switched out, changed. Nothing ever worked for me. And so that was not a route that was going to help me heal.
Wow. How long was that struggle for you? Are we talking a few months, it sounds like a few years.
Yeah, it was some years, and even through my changes I was making for the betterment of my overall health and well-being, those were years. And then when I thought I really had it together, do we ever? I don't know if we ever really have it all together, but I ended up getting married and having a child. And during that time, that's a very stressful time for anyone.
Yeah.
As exciting as it is, I think more people need to talk about the stress that you get put under. I mean, you're literally going to commit your life to this other human forever. And then also getting pregnant, learning to live with someone else. And then I ended up struggling with postpartum depression. So here I had worked on myself quite a bit, still had a lot to do. And when I went to the doctor about my postpartum, really abandoning the things I had already taught myself and known, I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel so horrible. And when you feel so horrible, you kind of take what you can get, and kind of abandoning what I knew better then. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor offered me an antidepressant. Here I had just given
Wow.
birth. My body went through traumatic. I mean, it is traumatic for your body to go through birth. There's
Yeah.
hormones that shift again. And that was the offering to me, was an antidepressant. And I remember it was like, oh my gosh, wake up again. So that was another layer. I have all these layers over the last 20 years in my life where I've had to like pick myself back up and remind myself my health is my choice. My health is in my hands. And it takes, you know, me researching and studying and finding the things that work for me and my body, not just someone telling me to take a pill that's going to heal what's going on within me. So yeah, so when you ask how long it's been, I would say probably the last 8 years of my life, I feel like I'm pretty good. My
Yeah.
mindset is pretty on point. I have my days like we all do. But I also remind myself and everyone, we're supposed to feel sad. We're supposed to feel depressed. We're supposed to feel anxiety. We're supposed to feel anxious. We're supposed to feel joy. We're supposed to feel love. We're supposed to feel a whole spectrum of emotions. That's what being human is. It's just we're
Yeah.
not supposed to feel those bad emotions day in and day out and allow them to dictate the future that we're creating for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really great point for folks out there, especially a lot of the younger folks. I've got a young daughter that's getting ready to graduate college, And, everything is so impulsive. Everything is like now. And if it's not now, then it's like the world's falling apart and there's drama. And it's just, it's like, it's okay if you
Mhm.
feel bad today. It's okay if you're tired today. It's okay if you're frustrated today. There are things like bad days, and they're gonna
Yeah.
happen. They're allowed to happen. But there's almost like I'm gonna say it in kind of my terms of like a disconnect between what people think they should be doing or how they should be behaving or feeling or doing whatever in reality. And I
Yeah.
don't know where that disconnect comes from. I don't know if it's just growing up with all the technology around you. Back in my day, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all this
Yeah.
technology.
Thank
We
God.
played out in the yard and played ball and
Yeah.
sports. And like, I don't know if that's good or bad or what, but man, there just generationally, there seems to be this gap between what people are doing and thinking. Really, it's about thinking and their mindset in like the reality of the world. Do you see the same things?
100%. And when I grew up, sounds like same time frame you grew up, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have those images right in front of us that were trying to tell us how our life should look. However, as a female, I did have images when you go to the checkout, when you're checking out in the magazines.
Wow.
So for me, growing up, when I would see the different magazines and the beautiful women and happiness, I associated, for me to be successful and happy, I had to be beautiful and I had to be thin and I had to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Now this is me as a teen going through checkouts, and as in college going through checkout lines, and picking up these magazines here and there. You'd get 17 magazines sent to your house once a month. Okay, this was one magazine once a month. I cannot even imagine what it would be like to have in front of me, as a teen without a fully developed brain, a phone that keeps giving me filtered images of women going throughout their 1% of their 1% of their 1% of their life, dealing with what I've dealt with my own mental health. I mean, that would be like so astronomically huge,
Yeah.
huge. So when I think about it, I think, yeah, it's incredible. And it is a huge disservice that we're doing for children, that we're doing for teens, young women. I work with a lot of high schoolers. I have teens, college students that come and see me, or I work remotely with them. And it's this idea that my life is supposed to look like this, or else I'm failing, or else they make it mean something. When
Yep.
the fact of the matter is, every single one of us is on this planet, in my opinion, for a very specific, unique reason. I am not supposed to be like anyone else, nor are you supposed to be like anyone else. We are all supposed to be individuals and have something unique to contribute to society. And when we're
Yep.
not in alignment with our uniqueness and what we have to contribute to society, we feel anxiety. We feel like we're off. We feel like we're not doing enough. We feel like something's wrong. And that's why I felt the way I did in my early 20s, is because I was trying to look and feel and be like somebody that I am not. I am a
Yeah.
tomboy through and through. I I go to the beat of my own drum, and I settle into that in my 40s just fine. And I'm very happy with where I'm at, and my mindset is very healthy now. But again, it's a lot. That's a whole thing to unpack.
Yeah. And you said some very powerful things in there, Dr. Frank. It's about really understanding yourself and being comfortable with yourself, being confident in yourself and projecting yourself out there, whether you're going to the grocery store, where you're going to work, going to church, going to sporting events, going to hang out with your friends, or whatever that may be. That, however you dress, however you look, however you behave, what music you listen to, how you do your hair, how do you do whatever, like car you drive, like you're just happy or find um, peace with just who that is, and that going with the flow. If everybody jumped off around, I remember my dad, I'd like, well, everybody's doing it, Dad. He's like, yeah, but if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you? If everybody ran into a Mack truck, would you? Like no, going going with everybody else is not the answer. Now, if everybody's running out of the building because the building's on fire, yeah, going with the crowd there is probably a good idea. But it's interesting how most birds, geese and things like that, they fly in flocks, and that's
Mhm.
great. There's reasons for that, but there's also birds like eagles, and they soar by themselves. They
Mhm.
don't fly in flocks. They fly higher, they fly faster, and there's a reason for that, right? And they all um, have a certain place in this world, and do what they do for whatever reason they do it. But humans, I think, are just more dynamic sometimes than animals. At least it seems that way. I mean, I haven't cracked open, an eagle's brain and found out what was going on in there. But generally speaking, the human body, the human brain just works so
Mhm.
dynamically. So, and I see this in the workforce too. We're talking about teens and people in their early 20s kind of figuring out who they are, but I see these things show up at the workplace, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds that, are leaders of companies and leaders of departments. And they struggle with imposter syndrome. They struggle with whether they're being a strong enough leader, or not being sympathetic enough. And they second guess their decisions, and,
Mhm.
just all kinds of different things. And so, in your research and the things that you're doing, talk a little bit more about, you said something really cool. The brain is the strongest pharmacy. And in
Mhm.
this world that we live, where everybody's, got challenges and issues and aches and pains, and we go to the doctor, they give us drugs and they're supposed to make us better. Most of the time they don't. So talk about why you feel the brain is the best pharmacy, and why people are being prescribed so many drugs, and what the alternatives are. Cause I think you're into the alternatives.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, our brain is only 2% of our body, yet it utilizes 20 to 25% of all the vitamins, nutrients, air, oxygen, everything that we put in. So it is an energy sucker. The other thing is, you know, we don't have a way of measuring brain chemistry. I didn't learn this until I was older and started looking at, well, why didn't these medications work for me? And why did this doctor even prescribe these medications? Why didn't I ask more questions? Like all these things come up in my brain as I'm getting clear in life. And it's interesting because we would never prescribe medication for your heart if we didn't test your heart,
Mm.
so we don't have a way to measure brain chemistry. So when someone says, oh, your brain chemistry's off, okay, well, maybe there's something to that, but we don't really know. It's really all subjective. But what we do know is the the brain can be influenced. So our brain is like, think of it as the hardware, and our mind is the software.
Hmm.
So if our brain's the hardware, our mind is going to tell is the software is telling the brain essentially what to do. So we are constantly downloading information into our being 24/7. What we're smelling, what we're eating, what we're seeing, who we're hugging, touching, having conversations with, all of this is constantly downloading information into our physical body. So this is very important information. And then as well as every thought we have, every word we speak carries a very specific vibrational frequency. And this has been proven in science. So you've probably heard of how water has memory. You can influence the consciousness of water by your words, by your thoughts alone. There's a Japanese scientist, Emoto, the scientist. So he proved that water can be influenced by your words or your thoughts. So let me draw
Hmm.
a picture for you. So actually, this is pretty easy. This one's a good one. So there was a school district. I saw a YouTube video. I thought this was genius. It was, I don't know, elementary, high school. And they had in like a foyer where there were windows, they had two plants, exact identical plants with the exact same soil, the exact same plant, and the exact same casing, getting the exact amount of sunlight. Same nutrients, everything. Think of them as identical twins. Boom, here they are. And what they did with the students is there was a microphone because these were encased plants. For 30 days, the students could go up to the one plant and they could only say positive things to this plant. The other plant, all they could do was say negative things to the plant. And after 30 days, what do you think happened to the plant that was being spoken negative things to? Started dying, which is crazy. That's only 30 days. Now that's a plant, so that's a living thing. And then we think of water. We think, is water really living? Well, yes, water is really living. So Dr. Emoto, what he did is he would speak words of affirmation to one, we'll just say one thing of water, and the other thing of water would be just negativity. The one water with all the positivity, it would freeze in a beautiful crystal formulation. It would have vibrant light around it. It was just absolutely beautiful. The water that was essentially spoken negative to was essentially like dead water. It was chaotic. It didn't make sense. Whereas the other water was like beautiful snowflakes. They were beautiful images. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because if this is our thoughts and our words, what it can do to plants and what it can do to water, and our body is mainly made up of water. What do you think every thought and the words you're saying are doing to your biochemical makeup every single day? Every single day. The things
That's amazing.
It's incredible. So
I'm never going to yell at a plant again.
it's like, it's completely incredible because what does this mean? This means when we take the power of our minds back and allow ourselves to think lovable thoughts and to see beautiful things and to be in gratitude, we can start to heal our physical body with our mind.
Interesting. So how do you take care of the brain? How do you train the brain? What are some of the techniques that you use that you found that you teach people to start kind of nurturing the brain and taking care of it? Just like, some people may go to the gym and work out their physical body, maybe run, lift weights, to kind of take care of the physical body. How do you do that for the brain? What's some of the best ways to do that?
Well, first, it's just taking inventory of your thoughts. One of the things is we all have this background noise, this unconscious kind of sayings, right? So for me, mine's I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. People don't like me. People don't want to spend time with me. And that's not available to me. So those are like 5 things that play in the background from maybe because I was bullied, maybe because of how I was brought up. I mean, I've kind of done some work, so I know where each one of them are stemming from. And so we all have these things in the background. And what I will have clients do is we kind of like go through their life and say, okay, from 0 to 5 years old, what was something pretty impactful that happened that you think changed the trajectory of your life? Okay, it could be as simple as somebody on the playground said, I don't want to play with you anymore. I don't like you. I'm not friends with you. So what does this little 5-year-old do? This little 5-year-old says that nobody likes me. And so this programming of nobody likes me continues as, this person is 50 years old and they're at a job and they're like, yeah, my boss doesn't like me. People don't appreciate me, and this continues to play in their life. And so what we do is we go back to all those little moments because we all have those moments. And we go back and say, okay, well, with that moment that you downloaded that nobody likes you, and what was the value gained from that? So we all have these big events that happen. And then there's a way we wound up being because of those events, that background static. It's not, we don't want it to be there, but it's there. But then we need to look at the value gain. This helps with reprogramming the brain. Why? Because it takes us from this static emotional response to our prefrontal cortex, which is our executive function thinking. And so executive function thinking is Well, at 5 years old, I registered that, but guess what? I'm like a super compassionate person. I
Hmm.
always am including people. I don't ever want to have somebody feel left out. And those people will go out of their way to make people feel like they fit in. That is a value gained.
Hmm.
So when we focus on the value gained from all those traumatic experiences, all the challenges we've been through, and we stay focused on the value gained, that gives us that more executive function thinking to show up in life in an empowering way versus in the victim mentality. And then the other thing is recognizing that background static. We don't let it mean anything, but I have that static in the background. And so when I'm showing up and I'm trying to, prove how smart I am, because my second grade teacher told me I would never amount to anything if I didn't learn how to read. So I always thought I wasn't smart enough. So what have I done? I've spent my whole life getting a degree, a master's degree, a PhD, all these certifications. I mean, I have a laundry list of stuff trying to prove myself and how smart I am, right? When
Yep.
really it's not our job to prove ourselves to anyone or convince anyone of anything. It's just our job to be who we are. But I know that static plays in my background. So as I've recognized this and learned what I've learned, when I'm in a room and I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm around all these smart people, I start to laugh at myself. And I'm like, well, of course you're around smart people because you're a smart person. Like, so you just check yourself when you go back to allowing that static to influence your thoughts. And then you show up as who you are today and you say, oh yeah. And I just kind of make a funny laughter at myself. I laugh at myself quite a bit. So it overrides that thinking so your brain doesn't keep going and going and let it spin out. So rewiring the brain takes some time, but you have to recognize what you're rewiring. And a lot of people don't um, don't know that. So there's this victim mentality mindset that I see a lot, and I only can see it because I had it myself. And this is another thing. We can't see things in other people that we haven't seen or witnessed within ourselves.
Yeah, that's really, yeah. I mean, how true that is. I mean, you don't really. I saw a couple of memes a week or so ago. I was going through some stuff and doing some research, and I saw a couple of memes, and I had a picture of somebody like walking by, and there was this caption about, um, you know, being friendly to people, being open to people. And somebody, they look kind of mean and people wanted to avoid them. But then there's this thing about, yeah, but you don't know that that person, had a death in the family or they had some issue going on. Like you just don't, there's no country song. I think Charlie Pride sang it back in the 70s. You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so true with people. But yet people, especially in this day and age with all the social media and all the, instant stuff out there that everybody, even though they may be struggling with some things or maybe lost their job, maybe had a death in the family, like people still want to present themselves as this certain kind of image or portrayal. And so you're conditioned to always be, oh, well, their life is great. Their life is blah, 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 blah. And so recently, in my life, I reached out to somebody here recently and was just, hey, how's it going? It's been a while. And their response back was, yeah, I can't, sorry, I missed your call. We're at a funeral right now and I can't
Mm,
talk. And I call you later. And it was just like, boom,
yeah.
like everything I know about these people, everything's going well. They're a nice house, nice car, like everything was great. I see them every once in a while. We wave, how's it going? Good to see you. See them at church, and then boom, oh yeah, we're at a funeral. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow, it's just you just don't know,
You don't know.
and
And
it's
yeah.
hard to compare yourself to other people when you don't even know what's going on with these people half the time. What you see is what they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
But 90% of their real life is not what they want you to see. They want you to see what they want you to see for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And if you go comparing yourself to the 10% they want you to see, then are you really comparing yourself adequately, even if you need to compare yourself at all?
Yeah.
And so I love your comment about people's, value. because everybody's different. Even though we want to be like each other in many ways, and we compare ourselves to other people. Oh, I want the big house. I want the nice pool. I want the nice whatever. I want to go on vacations every 5 minutes. That's great, but whatever they're doing is God's path for them. That's the
Mhm.
talents and the plan that they're living out, right? You're made special and different, and just like you have a different eyeball signature, you have a different fingerprint. Find value in what you're doing and what you can contribute that's different, because I find there's irony here. I find irony in business. Everybody wants to be different. In fact, you're told as a marketing strategy, be different.
Mhm.
Find your unique value proposition. Find what your competitor does and do it better, faster, cheaper. Like you're programmed. And as a business coach, I work with people all the time in the same vein of really showcasing the biggest, best things about that company, the culture, whatever, to differentiate themselves. But yet, on the other side of that coin, everybody's trying to be like everybody. That
Well,
doesn't work.
yeah, because I think there's a difference between being different and being bold. It's
Ooh, what do you mean by that?
when you step into your boldness of being different. Like we can all do things a little bit differently and say, "Oh, well, I did that differently." But to be bold in your differences, like for me to speak out and talk about what I talk about, saying that I'm against medication for the mind like 99% of the time. I'm against children being medicated. It's actually, I think it's, if you go and first put your child on medication for some mental health thing that you're saying they have, I think that's child abuse because their brain isn't even fully developed till they're 25. I was put on
Yep.
medications at 22 years old and wanted to take my own life. And there was no responsibility for anyone in the medical field,
Wow.
right?
Scary.
So I mean, I can be different and say, "Oh yeah, I'm against that." But when I step out and be bold against it, like that's what we need in business. We need people that are bold. I mean, not even in business, just in life, is
Yeah.
people to be bold. Um, and I think a really cool thing that you talked about was its vulnerability. And being vulnerable is so important in sharing our stories and being impactful. And I think that we kind of miss that vulnerability piece quite a bit because that's where the power is. I mean, I work with, like as you do, work with business executives and people, and I work with the people that have their own jets. I've worked with the people that have the beach houses, that have all the things in the world, and they still have their stuff because that's the thing is none of us get through this life with easy like smooth sailing. Like we don't. Like that's
Yeah.
you're supposed to have trials and tribulations throughout your entire life to help sharpen you, to help evolve you, to help make you become more. That's the whole goal. We're supposed to be evolving. Now, I think the difference is in the struggles when you are like reacting versus responding in your struggles. That's a difference. When you stay in your victim mindset and your struggles continue because you want to justify your victim mindset. And what I mean by that is, some people, we only repeat behaviors that we get something out of.
Yep.
And these are the bad behaviors too, right? So if you're struggling with your weight and you keep binge eating every night, well, you complain that you can't lose weight. Well, that binge eating, your actions, that is a way that you allow yourself to stay in that victim mentality and to be able to say, "Oh yeah, see, I can't lose weight. I've told you I can't lose weight. Of course I can't lose weight." Right? So you stay in that victim mentality by sabotaging yourself. And so that's the other piece is, as we rewire the brain, we're rewiring not only the brain and how we're responding to things, we're also rewiring our actions and how we're showing up every day.
Very, very powerful, very impactful. Dr. Frank, for the audience out there, we've kind of broken this down very well, but I want to break it down one more level with you and get you to kind of really give some folks out there that may be struggling with imposter syndrome and struggling with their identity and who they are, what they are. Maybe they've gotten divorced. Maybe their kids said they hate them and they don't like them anymore because they're emotional teenagers. Maybe just like a bunch of things have happened to somebody in their life all at one time and they're feeling kind of beat up on. No matter where people are in their life today, we all go through ups and downs. And let's say I'm a person that is struggling. My brain is kind of more victim versus victor mentality. I'm stuck and I can't see clearly, and I need to rewire my brain. I need to. It's short circuited, and I need to rewire that. Like, what is that process? How do you start to do that? What's kind of the recipe or prescription you would offer somebody and some steps to take to start that process? What is that like? How long does it take? And what's the other end of that? Do you
Yeah.
have a story of a client or something that you can tell that kind of walks through that journey and from kind of a tough situation to a great situation?
Oh gosh, so many. Yeah, so many. It's so first I just want to remind everyone it's nutrition, sleep, being outside, earthing, grounding yourself, having positive conversations, spending your money wisely. These are all basic pillars of wellness. Successful people don't even have to think about these things. They just do them. They don't think, oh, am I going to get up and exercise today? They don't got time for that. They're just getting up and they're doing their routine because that's just what they do. So, depending on where you're at, I always say we got to restore your foundations of health first. So, we look at restoring your foundations of health first, and we start with the basics. And the basics are what I just talked about. What are you putting in your body every day in terms of food, in terms of what are you seeing, what are you hearing, what are you smelling, who are you hugging and touching? All of these senses, every single one of your senses is downloading information into your body. Are you getting the sleep? Are you drinking the water? You know, these are the very, very basics. And I know that's boring for people to hear, but if you're not doing those basics, start there. First and foremost, you have to get those basics. And I have a little worksheet that you can email us and I can send it to you just to like check in with yourself to see if you're like doing those basics. And then the other thing I always remind people is pick your hard. It's hard to be overweight, and it's can be hard to be disciplined in your nutrition. It's hard to be divorced, and it's hard to be married. It's hard to
Mm.
have kids that are at the house and every weekend and every minute we were talking about this weekend, it's all about the kids. And then it's hard to have kids that went away to school or have kids that are grown up now. We do have to pick our hard. Um, so, so that's another thing is just bringing awareness to all this. I am a big proponent of coaches or mentors and people that are going to push you and not tell you all the things that you want to hear. I think this is why a lot of high level people, they end up working with me because I'm not there to be all, you're great every second of every day, right? I'm going to call them out on their stuff. And I'm sure that's what you do as a coach as well. And so you need people that are going to hold you accountable in your life. That is really important. The way we build confidence and the way we build self-esteem is by showing up and doing things in our life that are challenging, and we'll fail and then we'll get a little better and then we fall back a little and then we get a little better. Like if you think back the last time you achieved something great and you were happy and you felt successful, I guarantee you had a goal that was way up here and you had somebody along the way helping you. And most people stop having mentors and coaches and people pushing them after high school or after college or after the military or after the first year of their job when they show up and they learn all the ins and outs and then they're just there and they've been there 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So if you're having mental challenges and you're not working with someone to support you, If you're not working on foundations of health with all the things I talked about earlier with the nutrition and all that, if you don't have goals for your future self and you don't have are in alignment with your purpose, your brain's not going to function right.
Hmm.
And it's really that simple. And I think the last piece that I want to mention in terms of your brain not functioning right, if you're not living with integrity, that's huge. If you say
Hmm.
you're going to do something, you need to do it. And a lot of people are lacking integrity these days. And the things you tell yourself you're going to do them. The biggest betrayal is the betrayal of ourselves. But if you're
Wow.
betraying yourself, you're going to betray others.
That is very true. Very, very true. If you can't do something that's on your list of things to do, how in the heck are you gonna, help other people achieve those things, work at home, your kids, whatever that may be. Um, Dr. Frank, my goodness, thank you so much for being on the show. You've unpacked a lot of stuff for people to think about today. And, just think about, or just thank you for all the work that you're doing and all the science you're immersed in and the different ways you help people and do things for people. It's absolutely amazing. And you're just making a difference. The world is in a kind of an interesting place right now. We're coming out of COVID, a few years out of COVID now. People are kind of figuring out just different ways to live and work and cohabitate, and we just got a lot of challenges in the global world we live in, and there's just a lot going on, and having you being able to kind of break some things down and kind of reground us to the today was really really special. So thank you for that. And if people want to learn more about what you do and how you work with people, people want to get to know you better and have some conversations with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
You guys can go ahead and go to happywholeyou.com. I'm also on Instagram at happywholeyou. I'm also on LinkedIn. Yeah, just reach out. There's a lot of resources also on the Happy Whole You website, some nutraceuticals, things like that, that can support you as well, and some video courses, just things to help.
Yeah, she's got a lot of great resources out there. We're going to put all of her information in the show notes of our show, like we do with all of our guests, to make it simple and easy for you to click, find her, contact her, and learn more about what she does. We only scratched the surface today of all the things she does. We didn't get into some of the. She talked about prescription medication. She's got a lot of natural things that can help you without having all these long lasting impacts of pharmaceutical medications, in addition to the other things we talked about today. So awesome. Thank you so much. I think some great takeaways for today's show. One, no matter where you are, life is going to have you're going to go through ups and downs. It's supposed to be that way. Life's never supposed to be easy and handed to you on a silver platter. Change your expectations to expect bad things to happen to you. It happens to people every day. In the course of those ups and downs and good days and bad days shapes who you are. When I say shape, just like Dr. Frank was talking about, it shapes our mind. All of these inputs from our eyes, our ears, our taste buds, and just all the things we see and touch and feel, all are inputs, and you can change how you interpret those things, how you measure those against expectations. You can literally rewire your brain to input things differently, output things differently, just like she was saying the hardware and software analogy. I thought it was really, really great. Everybody has unique talents and gifts and special things. Get in touch with yours. What are the top 5 things you truly are the best at that nobody else is probably as good as you at? And just really lean on that, trust that, be confident in that, and put that out there, because that's the superpowers you were born with that you need to maximize. That's powerful. I love what she said. Be bold. Be bold in your differences. Be proud of those. Be confident in those, and just put yourself out there. If people like it, great. You know who your friends are. If people don't like it and they say negative things about you, then kick them to the curb because they're probably not the right people to have in your life anyway. And I think that's important. Um, but all in addition to that, I think another great takeaway in this crazy world of fast food and instant gratification, all this, is take care of yourself. Keep yourself in balance. Eat healthy. Get 6, 7, 8, whatever hours of sleep you need every day. We're all different. Find that for you. Exercise, walk, lift weights, do something, read books, challenge yourself, find ways to relax and get off the grid. And I think when you do that and you put, I love it, what she said, put the accountability in your life with others, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, your church members, find accountability where you can help other people with that and they can help you with that. And when you do all of those things, Dr. Frank says you can and you will rewire your brain to think and operate differently and give you a better, happier, more successful and peaceful life. And so, awesome. Dr. Frank, thank you so much. You're an awesome person. Next week, folks, we've got another great show in store for you. We're going to be talking about how to simplify problems. A great piggyback off of this episode, how to think differently, how to break things down and simplify problems and make good quality decisions faster. And that's, I think, going to be very helpful for everybody. So that's it for today's show. Hope you have a great week, everybody.